This is Allison Atkins, and these are my top 5 favorite alternative/authentic assessments. What I found after looking at the Twitter feed for alternative and authentic assessments was that most of the things I was seeing, I was like, these are things that we do already in school, and not all of them incorporate technology. Now, Eric Kurt's podcast definitely was focusing on the G Suite and how we can use that. So I'm just going to share with you some of the alternative authentic assessments that I have done that I have found to be really successful, and then some others that other people have done that I thought were pretty cool as well. So this was an authentic or alternative assessment that I did this school year with my students. We teach point of view where the students have to compare the author's point of view to their own point of view on a topic. And it can get a little boring for students, but I really dived into this, and I created an alternative assessment where students had to read an article about an individual's point of view about homework and then compare that to their own point of view. And obviously you think, oh, kids are just going to be like, homework is bad, we shouldn't have it. We did do some background research before that, and that was kind of orchestrated by me, where I gave them statistics about homework, and then they read their articles. So they had some background knowledge, they read their articles, and I differentiated the articles. I think I had like 8 different articles. Some were pro homework, some were against homework, some were on a lower reading level, some were on a much higher reading level. So not every student was reading the exact same article, which gave an opportunity to have them then share out their writing pieces and giving them that authentic audience to listen to what they had to say, because their classmates hadn't read the same exact article that they had. So this is just a example of the final product. You can see that this student has, in this speech box, wrote what the author's point of view was, and then this is the student, this is their point of view. I do teach all 5 subject areas, so I try to come up with some examples for each of these. For language arts, it's really, this could be applied in any subject area if you get creative with it. Eric Kurt shared the idea of using Google Slides or Google Draw to create comic strips, and I just thought that that was like an amazing idea that I had never even thought of before. This is a very simple one using Google Draw, where the teacher would give this template to their students, they'd add their pictures, and then add their text into the text box. I'm going to show you this video real quick. It's just an overview of a template that I found. This one's much more intricate, and this is done through Google Slides. The teacher would share this with their students, and then they would then insert images and text boxes to tell their story. You could use this for procedural activities. You could use it for concepts in science. Really, the possibilities are endless. An activity that I did one year for math at Christmas time was I created a Christmas shopping spree for my students. They received a copy of this Google Slides presentation, and then they had a packet or a workbook, if you will, where they had to do the math as they went along through the slideshow presentation. So they began with $599, and then they had to go Christmas shopping at 9 different stores. And each time they went to the store, they had to show their work for whatever it was they were buying and what their new total amount of money they had. And they did this as they went through each store, very much like a real shopping spree would be if someone was going shopping at Christmas time. The other aspect of it was I made it individualized, where the person sitting next to you might pick something different than you're picking at that store. So it was individualized, and my students were really engaged with this, and I thought it was a great activity for them to do right before Christmas. Moving on, this was an activity this past year in science. We did this as a culminating activity at the end of our unit on climate zones. Students learned about 5 climate zones, and what I had did was find 10 cities across the whole globe that fit into one of those 5 climate zones, put them in a hat, and then pairs of students had to pull their name out of the hat and pick their city. After they picked their city, they then had to go research and learn about their city. The great thing about this activity, not to like really toot my own horn, but the great thing about it was it incorporated collaboration. It incorporated them using technology, and we had to do a little bit of like learning about the technology before they could do it. So I had to teach them how they could, snip images, snip graphs, how they could search for different things, how they could insert images into their work. And I did also give them student choice. So they had an option between creating a brochure, a poster, or a Google Slides presentation, which was more of like, if you were going to maybe like a timeshare and someone was trying to sell you going to this location for a trip. So this is an example of what a finished poster looked like. I don't have the brochure on here, but I do have the Google Slides presentation. So I'll just let this play so you can see an example of one of my students, or two of my students' presentation. And again, these all use the G Suite technologies to have the students complete these assessments. And then the last alternative assessment that I'm going to share with you is what our 5th grade team did this year for Black History Month. They had their students research a famous African American and then create these poster boards. Now, it didn't end there. They then came together one Friday afternoon in our cafeteria where practically the whole school could come in and walk through their live-in museum. And as you walk past their live-in wax museum, you would push their button and then they would orally tell you about their famous African American. So it was such a great example of an alternative assessment. And these kids did a great job with it and they were so engaged, which is the main reason why we need to do more of these activities, is to increase engagement. So these are my top 5.